Hey, what's up everybody? Sorry if I cut the video off. The first one I was supposed to finish recording. They started talking to me and I'm doing, but this is going to be another part of the video. We are here at Miami, Miramar Pineland Park here in Miramar. We are just north of the Dayton-Broward County Line Road. We are off of University Drive near the Turnpike. If you watched me earlier, I did a walk from Miami Gardens into Broward, and we did an entrance into the park. I actually got stopped by some people who was actually, wanted to invite me to their church and things like that. And then I paused it because they wanted, personal information. And here I don't give out my personal information. Haiku, a walk in the woods, sharing nature and property. Haiku. So we're probably gonna go this way. 1.13 miles. So you 0.13 miles. So we're gonna go this way. So what it is this is a park that I told you in the first video that they opened this park up in 2013. The park got acquired by the county in 1989. And a opening date was supposed to be set in 2009, but due to budget cuts and money and everything, and a lot of things with the county, they had to push back the opening date until 2013. And so this is a park that was made from nature. Like I told you in the first video, that you have most parks that are parks that make nature, meaning that they make trails and stuff like that in the park. But then you have some parks that are nature that just nature that is made into a park. Like I said before, then this was nothing but just an open field that this was like just nothing but trees and woods. Like this was nothing. They decided, hey, why not make this into a park with nature trails and nature trails and stuff like that. So I think they do make money off of this, because you can have, like, you can rent the pavilions and stuff and all that. And like I said online, they say it's $3 entrance fee, and I guess that's on the weekends, because a lot of people like to come out here. They have a sheltered pavilions, they have a playground, they have a splash pad, so the county, they make money off of this, because if they wouldn't have did this probably would have been torn down and made into nothing but condominiums and apartments, because that's the new thing now. A lot of these empty lots are being demolished and making into new condominiums and new apartments, and to new homes, gated communities and things like that. So the park said, no, we're going to make this into our own park, and give it to that. So this park has been here for a little bit over 10 years, because it opened up in 2013 and we are now in 2026. So a little bit over 10 years and things like that. So we are here on the nature walk. Now, like I said, it's actually windy out here and the sun is out, but it's cool. And now, the one thing I like about some of these nature trails is the trees are so tall, if you can see, in certain areas, it blocks out the sun, where you can't, the sun won't be beaming down on you like that. Here are a few benches here. I'm quite sure that this trail, it says it's 0.13 miles. A seed is planted, a little bud starts to grow, timber tree is gone. So these are little man-made trails. These are regular trails, and these are the man-made trails. If you've ever been on a nature trail, there are man-made trails where people make their own trails to go off into the woods and things like that. And that's another thing I like. And sometimes I do take them out of, and I did them when I do episodes like this. Once I finish the episodes, I do go off and I go walk through these man-made trails to get a look at these trails and say, hey, let me walk through these little trails, because you never know what you can find. And I know most of y'all, when y'all be seeing these episodes, like, go through the trails. No, I stick to the main trails, because in most parks they tell you stay on the main trail. Don't veer off into like other trails, because you never know what you might find. You know, you might stumble upon a family of coyotes, or you might stumble upon a fox or dogs, or you might, you know, stumble upon wildlife, and they may be in danger, they may not be in danger, that you may stumble upon things that you shouldn't, to where it might be unsafe for you. So I don't, you know, do things like that and stuff. So yeah, Miramar Pineland Natural Area. Okay. Now we're coming up on one of the bridges. I think this is the main bridge where it takes you. I think this is just a circle. Oh, what is this? This looks historical. You gotta wonder with certain things, like especially with these parks, back in the 50s and 60s, you gotta wonder, like, what was this before this was built? Like, a lot of these areas that was nothing but trees, like this was nothing but trees and woods. But you gotta wonder, what was this back in the day that it closed? Because you know, a lot of places that get closed, they sit as empty lots, and then they end up becoming woods and, you know, forests and things like that. Look at the cactuses. And you gotta wonder, what is these places? What was they before, you know, they became a park? Like, what was this back in the 70s? Was this never anything? Was it always been like this? And then the park just, you know, ended up saying, hey, we're just gonna take this. So now we're gonna want to cautious slippery one. Now there is one that's supposed to be over the water. Wait, uh-oh, lizard, move, move. Oh, there's a man-made walk area here too. Now I'm guessing this is supposed to be the one that's supposed to go. Well, it's supposed to be the one that's supposed to go in the water, but I don't know if this is it. Let's see. No, this is not the one. Now with this, I'm kind of on a question mark. So what is the purpose of this little walkway to observation deck, and it leads to nowhere? Like, you're not even near the water, because most of these like this is supposed to be where it leads you into the water, like the lake or the pond and stuff. But this one, no. So this questions, what is the purpose? Like, it's literally, you will want to wonder, what is the purpose of this? Now, if anybody has ever been here and you know the history behind this, feel free to comment. You can also email me. I'll give you that later on, because I want to know, what was this before it became a pineland? I know before it became Miramar Pineland Park, it was an empty field. It was nothing but forest and nature here. But like, it had to be something, because with that little square stone that was sitting over there, something had to be here in the past, you know. I don't know, this could have been an army base area, or this could have been something used in the wars, or there could have been something where, you know, they use, you know. But, you know, I have to wonder. But yeah, if you know what this was, you know, comment and let me know. But this is beautiful. I like this park. You know, I'll probably visit here again. There are some parks that I visited and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll visit another you know, maybe one time and that's it. But there are some parks that I do visit. I'm like, this is nice, I'll visit again. And this is one of them. Not saying I'm going to visit it sometime soon, because this is not like one of the parks that's around the corner from me. You know, this is one of the parks where, you know, because to get to this park, if you're taking public transportation, there's only one bus that comes near this park, and that's the southbound 2, which is not the northbound 2, because the 2 is a Broward County bus that goes all the way from the northern part of Broward into Miami, and their last stop is literally 207th Street and 27th Avenue, which is a few blocks away from the Hard Rock Stadium. So when you're coming to the park, the only bus that stops directly into the park is the southbound 2. The northbound 2 goes down Douglas Road. It makes a loop around. So its first stop is on 207th and 27th. Then it goes down 237th Avenue, which is also Douglas Road in Broward County. And then it goes north to Miramar Parkway, which is north of here. Then from Miramar Parkway, it goes down and heads north on University Drive. So you only have the southbound. And if you're coming from Miami, the closest bus is the 199, as we seen in the first video. You'll have to get off somewhere near the Stadium Hotel, and you'll have to walk, just like how I did. I caught the bus for 207, and I walked from 207 down here to here. So we are at the end of the trail. Oh wow. So okay, since we did do a wraparound, I will go in this episode only, because we just did this. That's a sign that says don't go this way, you know, the little stop sign. So I'm guessing what you do is you got to go this way and go around this way. You know, there's like a one way. Like, I'm quite sure there's people that go that way, but they're telling you go this way. So we're gonna go in a little bit of the trail. We're probably gonna do another episode, because we still need to go near the splash pad area and stuff like that, but we'll probably do that. And if we can get enough time to go in there, we'll do it. So, but this is amazing. This is like, you know, and you know, with like most trails, you don't have a lot of bushes and trees that are lingering outside of the trails. Like, you go into some trails, they have like trees lingering all on the side of the trails where you got to twist and turn, because there's trees that, you know, they fall over. You know how when heavy weather, and I've seen this in several trails, the heavy weather, they knock over the trees, and the trees are like bending over near the trails, and then you got trees and bushes that are, you know, blocking most of the trails, and then you have to either walk over or maneuver around it. This is nothing. Like, the trails is clear, no pets. They still have that block sign here. So, from the mind of a single lone vine, 100 opening lives. So we're gonna go through that little trail that I seen. We're gonna go through there and check it out, you know, and see what's in there. And one of the things about these nature trails, it brings you back to like the times of Georgia. Like, when I was a little kid, one of my aunts, who passed away in 2021, rest in peace, and her husband just recently died, I believe last year. May he rest in peace as well. And when my grandma died, who was on my mom's side, I had an opportunity to visit their house in Georgia, and they lived in the woods. And it was one of those things where, as a young kid, I really didn't experience it like how I'm experiencing it now, you know. But, you know, going into Warner Robins and seeing how much part of Georgia is like woods, because I had a friend of mine who lives in Havana, Florida, and literally his backyard is basically like the woods. And one day he gave me a video of walking in the woods at night, and I say, that's one thing I will not do. I'm walking these places like this during the daytime, but when that sun come down, no. I actually wanted to do a video about like that at Gwinnell's, because at nighttime, like Gwinnell's, they close like around, they close at 6. If you remember, I did one, well, I think I did several, if I'm not mistaken. I did them like episodes at Grinnell's, and one night I ended up going to Grinnell's, and the park. This was before, I think before daylight savings time, and the park like was getting dark around 6, because like around Halloween time it gets dark like 6:30. It gets dark. So I was coming, and the park ranger was like, "The park is closed." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I know, I'm leaving." And I was going down that little road that leads to Dixie Highway, and the park was so dark. Literally, I had to use what was it? What I was doing? I literally had to use. The park ranger was driving in front of me, and the lights from the park ranger's vehicle, the little flashing lights, and also I had to use my flashlight to walk down the street because it was dark. And that's why I said I don't go down to these parks when it's dark like this, because no, but a lot of people do it because it brings out the adrenaline, and I say, nah, this is not me, this is not what I want to do. So things like that. So yeah, but this is the man-made trail. As you can see, there's a lot of acorns and a lot of twigs and things like that on this trail. This is more interesting than the actual trail. This look real bad. Looks like somebody tried to burn this. Look how dark this is at the bottom, and that one too. I don't know if that's because somebody tried to burn it or something, because I've never actually seen that. If you know what that is, comment. Or it could have been, oh, it's right here too. Look at all that. It could have been that somebody was doing striking, like it could have been struck by lightning and it looked like that. But that's interesting. There's a lot of twigs and branches in this area. Like, you got to be cautious when you come in this area, because there's a lot of branches and stuff. Ooh. Yeah, this is the man-made trail that they have here, and I'm quite sure it leads to several other spots. It's probably gonna take me a minute to go around these trails. That's why I said we might have to do a part 3 to this. Oof. Now I gotta walk slow, because this is sand, and when you walk fast, sand can easily get into your shoes, and I don't want sand to get into my shoes. I still have, now the sun is back out, so it's getting kind of hot, but the wind is breezing, so it's not as bad. I didn't get no hydration because there isn't a corner store or anything that's near here. Like, there was a gas station, and I don't too much like to buy my hydration system from gas stations, because you end up paying a little bit more for water or soda or drinks or anything at gas stations than you would at a regular corner store. Because gas station, you're gonna pay like $2 or $3 for a bottle of water. Now, this is kind of interesting. I don't know where we stumbled upon it. I don't know if this is the actual school. I see where they have like little paw prints, like right there. So I don't know if this is an actual school. It might be an actual school, because I see a baseball field over there. So this might be a school. I'm gonna probably look it up once I get off this way. So I'm gonna go down the other trail. But this is interesting. If you're ever in Miramar and you wanna have fun in the nature, come to Miramar Pineland Park. Now, I don't recommend riding your bike down these trails, but ride them down the regular concrete trail, because these trails, as you could see earlier, they have a lot of sticks and trees and branches that are in the trail area. So it will be kind of hard for you to actually ride your bike in this area. But this is nice. I love nature. Like, I've always wanted the opportunity to like go to like places like Georgia, because Georgia is the original woods. Because I had the opportunity, like I said, when I visited when I was a little kid, when we one day in the daytime, we walked from my aunt's house, and we was walking down the street. Her house is in the woods, and the street was like nothing but woods it was. We didn't go far out of the way because we eventually turned around and went back. But it was like an experience, and a lot of Georgia is still like that. I know eventually Georgia is going to become obsolete to where now a lot of these empty, like a lot of these woods and stuff, is going to be changed into developments where they're going to have, you know, gated communities, condominiums, apartments and stuff, because we're seeing a lot of that here in Florida, where a lot of these wetland areas, a lot of these natured areas and stuff are being turned into gated communities and, you know, apartment buildings and complexes and stuff, and to where they are tearing down the wildlife sanctuaries of the wildlife. And I see it all the time, and I'm like, yeah, you're taking the wildlife homes away just so you can make money off the rich and people who can afford to live in modern day apartments and complexes and stuff. So it is what it is for that. But yeah, we are out, and you know, this is one of those nice places where you come and you explore nature. You know, if you really want to explore nature, and I recommend for people, and I'm gonna tell you this, and I'm gonna probably do an episode about this. Go to your local nature areas. You know, go to, you know, Secret Woods, Lakeside, Miramar, Pineland. You know, go to a lot of these natured areas before they get taken away by businessmen, because a lot of these natured areas, you know, I know this, and I know places like Secret Woods because we did an episode there. A lot of these places are not going to be taken away because these are, you know, owned by the county. But like a lot of these areas, you know, you want to make sure that you know, go to these natured areas that have these nature trails and stuff like that, because eventually a lot of these areas are going to be bought out by businessmen, and they're going to start building shopping centers and gated communities and places where it's going to be ridiculous to, you know, even, you know, because in Miami you really don't have too many wooded areas. Like Reynolds Park is a wooded area, but that's a park and it is into a wooded area. So a lot of these areas like this is protected because this is a county park. So a lot of this area is protected. So when you do these stuff, you know, it's not like it's, you know, this I know is not going to get closed and changed into you know, business. It's not going to get sold up by businessmen, because this is a park that was created less than 20 years ago. So I know this is not going to go nowhere. But there are a lot of areas, you know, nature areas and other areas that people visited that will get sold off to where it's not an actual park, but it's a man-made park, to where like they'll say it's a natured area, to where it will get sold off to businessmen to make way for, you know, housing, you know, gated communities, mixed-use development, shopping centers and things like that, to where it's going to make to where you see these empty lands and empty lots like this, and then come 10 years later they're saying coming soon A+ shopping center, or coming soon Johnson's gated community, or coming soon Nicolo's apartment complex and things like that. So you're actually getting like a lot of the stuff that is actually coming out to where it's basically, you know, they're doing a lot of this stuff to where they're selling these lands to people to make money off of them. Hey, this land is just sitting here. Let's sell it to make money. Let's build this. Let's build that. I've seen it on, you know, I've seen it happen numerous of times. I've seen a lot of things where some of our, you know, childhood memories. I remember I did an episode of, I did several episodes, you know, where one of the episodes I'm going to tell you about, remember I did an episode down at Mall of the Americas, which is now called Midway Crossings, and they had they turned a old Grand Prix Racerama into an apartment complex. And a lot of these businesses get sold off, you know, and a lot of these open lands get sold off to make way for new land development. And it gets to the point where we as people are like, no, this is where I used to go at to hang out with my friends in this park, or I used to go hang out here, you know, certain things and stuff like that. You know, it's a lot of history behind a lot of this stuff. Even though this is not really history, because this opened up in 2013, you know, so it will have to be considered like 30 years or so from now to be considered history, because anything after the year 2000 is not considered history. Anything in the 90s is semi-history, because it's not history, but it's history, you know, because like it wasn't in the 60s and 70s and 80s. A lot of buildings a lot of places from the 80s on down, from the 80s, 70s, 60s, 50s, those are history. 90s is semi-history, because it not, you know, it's not like it's been close to 30 years, depending on where you're at. So this right here there's houses here. So I'm guessing this is the little strip that takes me over to the area where the school was. So I'm not really gonna go near deep into this. So, okay. Nice pool, but your pool needs to be cleaned. Yeah, this is a trail, and it looks like it's blocked off down that way, and this is another trail, but we're gonna go back this way. Yeah, we're gonna do a part 3 to this. It was supposed to be 2 parts, but by me with the situation, it ended up becoming a part 3. So we're gonna do a part 3, because we still got to go back to the front area, because I still got to do the other areas in the front end of the park. You know, we're just only doing the nature side of the park, so we're almost getting close to the end of this area. But this is a pretty decent park. You know, I see people out here walking the nature area, you know, they're taking in the nature and things like that. So this is pretty decent, and it's nice, it's fun. You actually saw the man was sitting at the gazebo, the little observation deck, reading a book, because he's taking in the nice wind and things like that. So this is not bad, you know. So this, I give this a nice, good for cruising. Now, have on some walking shoes, you know, because if you're in nature trails, have on either some hiking boots or something or whatever, you know, to walk. Because don't have on some, well, I'm gonna say this, have on some comfortable shoes, because this is something for comfortable. You know, you gotta have comfortable, because you know, this is like an up and down thing. It's not like a smooth flat surface, because you're walking on dirt. Now when you get to the concrete walking area, yeah, but walking these man-made trails, dirt. So let's go from there. So okay, now we're gonna wrap around the areas. I'm not even gonna go that way. I'm gonna bypass don't go this way sign and go back this way, because I'm gonna end this video when we go back to the trail by the exhibit hall. Now, if we're allowed in the exhibit hall, we're probably doing a video inside the exhibit hall, or I'll just give you in-depth of the video of the exhibit hall if I can't, you know, because they might not allow you to have cameras and stuff in the exhibit hall, or take pictures or do videos in the exhibit hall. So, you know, some places they don't allow you to record inside their places. I've had the audacity to record in certain places. You know, I did the Museum of Aviation at Warner Robins. I did the exhibit hall at Ann Cove Nature Center, you know. So some places they allow you to do it. So, you know, things like that. So, not bad. But, okay. We are getting towards the end. So, we are in the Miramar Pineland Park, right off of University Drive and the Turnpike in Miramar, just north of the Dade and Broward County line and County Line Road. We are literally 2 steps away from the Florida Turnpike off of University Drive. So if you're ever in South Florida, if you're in South Florida and you want to take a stroll into the areas of nature, come to Miramar Pineland. This is one of the nature spots that is kind of interesting. So if you want to take a stroll, come out to Miramar Pineland. If you've ever been to this park and you know you want to comment on it, comment roundtable 305 at yahoo.com. You can also comment at the bottom of this page at the comment section, you know. And if you've ever been here, if you want to come out here, come check it out. Look it up, Miramar Pineland Park. off of University Drive and the Turnpike here in Miramar. They open until about 7 or 7:30, I believe. But I wouldn't recommend being out here till 7:30 because it gets dark, and when it gets dark, I'm quite sure the animals come out. So I would say around 6. But this is the Roundtable Talk. I am your host, C Money. As always, stay safe, stay blessed, stay hydrated. I'm going to see you in a little bit because we're going to also be doing another episode here in the park, because we're going to be going back to the front end of the park, and we're going to be doing several episodes in the area as well. So I'll see you in a little bit. Take care.